welcome everyone to the new episode of our Brown Bag Meetup series. I'm your host Alik, and today we've got our next Brown Bag episode, and we invited our colleague Alexander Petkevich, who is leading our blockchain community and blockchain practice at EPAM Systems. And if you're new here, this event is hosted by the blockchain professionals community, and we are kind of a think space for blockchain enthusiasts, for blockchain engineers who are interested in blockchain as a concept and who are also interested in blockchain and in its early adoption. Today we will talk about do we agree to Web3, and in our community we have many other interesting activities such as conferences, podcasts, articles, courses, and many other interesting things. And our next big event is the Blockchain Community Day, which will take place coming September on September 20th, and it will be a 4-day virtual conference where we will dive into the future of crypto. We'll talk about industry insights, and we'll go into Web3, NFTs, and of course, we will talk about the community and marketing aspect. So, if you want to learn more, please visit the link in the description, and I will now invite Sasha. And before we start, just to let you know that if you will have any questions, just leave them in the comment section on YouTube, and we will try to answer them by the end of our today's session. Hi, Sasha, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm good. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
And I'm not muted and all of that. And I start. Alec, do people see my presentation?
Just a second. Here it is.
We are here. So guys, we're typically here at our brown bag sessions, we're doing the deep dive in the technology, in the concepts. But today, today is different. We're not going to go very, very deep. We're going to. But recently, I've been meeting so many people who were willing to discuss about the how real is Web3, and is it a reality? Is it something tangible, or it's just a scam? That I meet that so many times that I thought that we probably need a session, which I hope at the end would be discussion, because there can always be different opinions, and they can be because of people have different information, because they interpret information differently. And I'm not going to argue with personal opinions, with personal experiences. I'm going to speak today about why those discussions are important. Why do we actually spend time on discussing Web3 topic, and why everybody does that? Nowadays, almost every brand is trying to formulate their position in terms of the Web3. Every technology company, majority of the developers are looking to the topic and thinking, is there anything for me or not? And there are a lot of controversial information on the internet. There are a lot of opinions. There are a lot of misinterpretations. There are a lot of different interpretations. So let's go to the basics. Let's go to why we actually speak about that, from where the storm have come to us, and what are the different opinions, and what can we see is happening. And now basically you can see I put a wonderful picture about the uniqueness of Web3, even on the top slide. Normally no one stops at the top slide, and that's so do I'm not going to discuss that, because you can easily find that, you can easily speculate on if it's unique or not unique, and about the terminology. I'm going to speak about something different, but I want you to have this information, and thanks to 101 blockchains of giving us these wonderful slides. I'm using that frequently while explaining people a concept. But let's move a little bit of just justify what opinions do exist. Because from one point of view, we can meet a lot of professionals and a lot of people involved already in blockchain and crypto market, in so-called Web 3.0, saying that it's a new concept of the internet. It's new concept of internet working differently. giving end users more control and more freedom. On another side, we do have a lot of people also coming from that user community who are stating that Web 3.0 is a total scam. And here I will ask help of Alec actually to share one small video clip, which my 13 years old son brought to me saying, "Mom, what are you doing is a complete scam." And I really would like to share that with you.
Yes.
It's Web 3, whatever that means. Keep in mind, though, I do want to say Web 3.0 doesn't even exist at the minute. It's not even in development. It is just a concept. They're making a console based around a concept. Quick rundown on this. Web 1.0, the internet was like a huge library. Everything was read-only. There were no like real advertisers or anything. The entire internet was a huge Wikipedia and people just read stuff. Web 2.0, which is where we're at now, you read something off a website, that website yoinks your data and then sells it to advertisers for money. That's the current state of Web 2.0. Now, Web 3.0, oh god, it's like a concept of having full control of data yourself. Like, you know how content is kept on a server, like Facebook servers, Twitter servers? They're basically theorizing that you would have your own content on your own computer, whatever that means. It's essentially the concept of no censorship. So if I want to boot up TF2 and then run a mod with the pyro having huge melons, I can do that. I can do that anywhere, to be fair. Now, it's pretty obvious that this entire console is an NFT scam. It's built on a concept that, like, it doesn't even exist.
So, guys, when you hear from analysts, when you hear from business professionals that it's a scam or something, it's kind of, you can argue with that. But when you can hear that from the generic public, and I also have the tweet of Elon Musk, the majority of the negative opinions about Web3, that's about, we haven't seen that. And we cannot touch that, we cannot taste it, it does not exist. And their opponents, they say Web 3.0 is the future. And what I would like to discuss with you is from where, what this is all about internet. This is all about internet and about freedom, about control in internet. And let's look at traditional internet consumer services we are using today. And I have a list. It's not complete. There are a lot of other type of the services, but normally as a generic user, you are using social networks, you are sending files, you are sharing files. Sometimes you are doing the file management, those Google Docs. You use internet as authentication service very frequently. I remember when you are logging on the website, it offers you, would you like to use your Facebook ID or your Google ID or something? You obviously do pay over the internet, all the e-commerce and something. You're using search functions. You are reading news. You download software, or if you create that, you distribute the software. You host your websites. You do streaming. Very streaming and messaging, and that's overall in a nutshell, the everyday consumed user functions over the internet. And if we will look to that, we can see that the majority of the services we are using, they're provisioned to us by the handful of the well-known providers. Facebook, like Meta, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. There are from time to time, there are services provisioned by the smaller companies, but they're normally not so attractive for the end user because of the not so exciting UI UX, not that fast working, not that rich functionality. Sometimes there are some new shooting stars. You're looking to them thinking, probably I will use that. Because for example, you hate how your news line in a Facebook is sorted. You cannot manage that, or you are frequently banned on a Facebook. You annoyed. You're going to go somewhere. For example, you register on Minds. You go there, you see that the user base is small, user functionality is small, it's kind of baggy, and you're going back. And you're going back, you're sitting again on Facebook, Twitter, you're using TikTok, or some of us using TikTok, some of us using other social media. And despite that, you do have feeling that you are being manipulated, that you do not exactly satisfied, but what choice do you have? Almost nothing. And let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper to the underlying infrastructures of internet. Well, originally, internet working was designed as a network of networks. And most communications were directly between computers. And when your computer accesses a website, it's accessing of a set of files on some other computer, like basically where there is a physical connection. Somehow it can be intricate, but there is a physical connection between computers. Then there is the information sent, then the internet is working. It was always, initially in so-called, and you've seen the wonderful explanation of the guy, the Web 1.0 was network of interconnected computers, and that was kind of decentralized. And but internet grew, and companies began to specialize in either hosting or creating content, either carrying or transferring information, or providing access to the internet, so-called the edge providers. And you do see this picture on top of the screen. And what transit providers, they specialize in carrying traffic between cities, nations, continents, and they're using, you've seen that as in movies, these long haul optical fiber cables. And these cables, they run everywhere, and most of the internet traffic between continents that's going through those cables. But the last 10 years, or probably 15 already years, the content providers, and in most cases it started with social media and with cloud computing companies, they started to accumulate traffic, and they started to build the special lines to transmit, to own the traffic, to transmit the data faster and more controlled. Basically, a lot of content providers have moved to Internet Core. The result of the infrastructure you see in the picture below, which is slightly different what is in the picture above. And nowadays, like on infrastructure level, most of the internet traffic goes through the network of large companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, and much smaller providers, they almost do nothing. Like, I mean, they still exist, but the majority of the traffic goes somewhere else. And that process we call centralization of internet. And we must say that Internet 2.0, which is a lot about the personalization and social networking, it's much more centralized internet than it was initially. And that's the process which goes on all levels. There is the infrastructure cost involved, which means that the richer company is, the more rich infrastructure it can allow, the more quality services it can offer, the more user base it has. The bigger user base, like, they hear the terms of the data gravity. Like, the more user, like the bigger user base, that attracts more users. And the more users, the more user data. That's like easy monetizable. There are more services which can provide, that attracts even more. So the biggest growing fastest. And also complexity. Applications nowadays are so complex that this complex development can be afforded only by real like software giants or really rich companies who can pay for that complex software development. I mean, there are enough e-power plays there, and you probably know how Google is being built, or like Google Analytics. I mean, there are a lot of those things. As I said, like the bigger companies, they accumulate internet structures, they accumulate internet traffic, and we are ending up in Internet 2.0, which is which majority claim is centralized, which we can see a lot of evidences. And being a user, you can say, okay, why should I care? I mean, I get the best UI, I get the rich services. Why should I care about the centralization? Why should I react on those promises of Web3 that it's appearing to be more like more consumer oriented, more consumer owned, and less censorship? Well, people who were like banned on Facebook, if you're still using Facebook, they probably feel offended and say, okay, that's the censorship. But we can look at the picture much broader, because I must say that when I'm talking to people, they do not realize the size of what is going on. For example, when you do the search in Google, or when you do the search in any other search engine, do you know on which data set your search is on? Can you control that? Can you at least know that? Because you do not have any evidence that you are looking on all data available. That's certainly not. And what's like when you are owner of the website, or where you are projecting certain information on the web, how do you know who can actually reach your website? You know that there are a lot, like Google has the services which can name the website dangerous, and in this case it wouldn't appear anywhere. There are also DNS providers, and even your domain name can appear to be unreachable or unknown. And well, actually, you wouldn't know about that at all. Your software distribution. You know that there are two software markets by Google and Apple. And from one point of view, you do not have to use that. From another point of view, who will know about you if you're not using that? Who will install your software if you're not using that? And look into all those aspects, you actually understand how limited your freedom is in internet currently, and how easy that not to be professional and not notice that. You live your own well-managed world, and you don't know where's the rest. It's like you are sitting in a room and you're never coming outside, and you do not manage who can reach your room too. And that's independently if you're individual or if you're a business. I mean, very frequently when we're speaking about those topics, we're approaching that from the individual point of view, that I'm being manipulated. But that works exactly the same from a business point of view. When you are the business, you can be easily disconnected from all your customers and from all your customer base. You can easily be muted and have no clue what is happening with you. I mean, even to test that would be very, very difficult. You can easily lost all your sales channels or all your payment channels. And I mean, you will spend, like, for many businesses, the continuous business operations are vital. And I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be malicious. I'm not saying even the slight mistake somewhere outside, something which facilitates your nice and cozy separated room, can cause danger to your business. And this all I mean, you will spend hours mailing Google with their automatic support, like with their very intellectual, automated customer service, trying to reach them and trying to find out why the heck your web address, like what the address where your website is located, suddenly appear to be dangerous for everyone and put in a blacklist, so you're not accessible at all. And most likely you will find out that because of the complaints of the users, of the user base, like days after it happens, and then you will spend days trying to fix that, and that's not that easy. And I mean, this all makes majority of us who understand the situation worry about this, because it's initially not what it was promised to us. And that's why the dreams about better control, about more, like about more freedom and less censorship. And again, looking to the past 2 years, where past 3 years, where because of the COVID, everything appeared to be in internet, and also because of the cancel culture, which bloomed over the last 3 years, where like it started with Trump, and after that it was like really unstoppable, where a lot of politicians, a lot of celebrities, a lot of people having different opinions were just disconnected from their audience. A lot of businesses were disconnected. Like, I mean, it's not only theory, and that's not only because of the error. It's also because of the many political and economical games. And when it's all happening, what the alternative movement had appeared. That actually, the first thing where it started, there was even in Satoshi Nakamoto papers back in 2009, I believe, because there were a lot of phrases about DNS system, because the DNS system was always centralized, and there was always arguing about that, and there were ideas to run DNS differently, and now there is like successful service. But starting from 2014, thanks to Gavin Wood, thanks to a lot of Ethereum guys, thanks to a lot of non-Ethereum guys, a lot of crypto guys who started to speak loudly about the friendliness, openness, and censorship less of internet, and about those possibilities in making internet truly decentralized. We gradually inherited, we gradually built, and also in some cases inherited the new internet stack. And currently, again, we're still thinking about the concept. We're still thinking like what initial video where it says, they say that Web 3.0 is an idea and a concept. Yes, initially. Initially, that's new concept of how to build internet, how to build all those internet services on decentralized manner. And there are a lot of, let's say, explanations of the technology stack. You see one on a screen, and that's more user-friendly one. And I do hope that I have technicians on this talk, because I have another one. I hope by clicking on that slide, it will show me. No, it doesn't show. Alex, that's the problem with those slides. When I have the animation, I cannot show that. No, it doesn't work. But okay, not a problem. I would say I probably can explain the whole stack on this more business-oriented slide, which starts on infrastructure layer, where the network of, where we are going back. We are going back to the distributed network of the computers, where those computers are interconnected, where there's governance in that, where there is ability to transmit information, where there are basic infrastructure services like security, like decentralized storage, like persistence, like the possibility, like APIs. So, and here there is the because of the nature of the new technology, the basics and the roots, like native tokens, are also there. So when we're speaking about the infrastructure layer, we are speaking about the like distributed networks and all the aspects of their functioning. Then there is a network layer, which allows us, which is normally the foundation, like the blockchain foundation layer, which allows you consensus mechanism, which allows you services which look after the information being distributed equally on all decentralized, like across all the network, which also secures that the network, like each node in the network, will understand the transaction happening in a predictable order, because there can be many mistakes if there would be different opinions. So the finality of the transactions, the fact that the transactions are reaching all the network nodes, and the fact that each node built the sequence of the transactions on the same way is the part of the network layer. Then we have the protocol layer, where we are speaking about how valid the transactions, where we are speaking about the connections, like interconnections between networks, because we can have the network layer on the different protocols. And here we are speaking about interoperability in between different networks. Here we do have events on to get the network layer events, we are processing that on a protocol layer. And all those three, they're just new technology stack. And when a lot of people are saying, I cannot touch that, I'm saying, okay, if you're not technician, how much you can touch TCP/IP? In the majority, it just works for you. You just like, well, how much you can touch FTP? Like, majority of the people just move the files from one folder to another folder, or from one browser screen to another browser screen. How does it work underneath? The majority of the users don't know. With technicians, they might know. And for those, like, I mean, I had the better picture, but it's not accessible for me. You will get it in the presentation. We'll make sure that it's a separate slide in PDF. And basically, guys, this is the same technology level, which, the similar technology level, which allows currently internet functioning, which allows you to have servers which are transmitting information, which allows you to have storages, which allows you to have messaging, which allows you to get the technology basics of the consumer type of the services running. And we are at the fourth, on the orange layer, where the glimpses, where the basics of the consumer services are on, where we have wallets, where we have identity, where we have all the necessary protocols to make sure your front end will work, or all the data would be transmitted or converted or integrated well. So here you do have all the blockchain type of the services, like marketplaces in terms of functioning of outsourcing, where you have like forums in terms of the logic. So these are the backends of your internet services. And then we have application layer, which is also, I mean, the first generations of the Web3 architecture. They were not touching much on application layer, on a presentation layer. And the majority were saying, why, you have a browser. The problem is that the browser itself, and we can look all the majority of the browsers, they are owned by the same big corporations, which means that you can have how much you want those 4 layers and beneath that decentralized. If you hit a centralized front end, there's no future. I mean, that's still the single point of the centralization. If browser will say, okay, this is forbidden, then you won't be able to reach the service. You won't be able to reach the centralized service. Or when the browser will say, I prefer this coin and not that coin, you won't be able to integrate with that. I mean, the browser for which you access your front end in the majority. And when I say browser, I'm using the wide term. It's not necessarily a web browser. You're using certain interfaces in your mobile devices still. I mean, but still, when it's provisioned by some proprietary company, it can be manipulated. And that was missed in the first generation on Web3 tech stack. And currently, there are enough protocols already which decentralizes front end of you. Now, currently, there is a movement of creating the community-led browser. I mean, the browser which is also DApp, which is also decentralized and levels, means that not owned by anyone, and also where the parts of this browser can be substituted. I mean, you can argue that, for example, Chromium and Mozilla are open source code, but at the same time, they're using the services which, for example, Google provides, if we're speaking about the Chromium. And when Chromium executes the plugins, for example, you cannot really affect that one unless you are rewriting half of the code. So basically, nowadays, even the top layer of Web3 is taking care of the decentralization. And I'm back to the speculation where people say we cannot touch that. And I'm saying that now, when we are speaking about the complete application structure, when we're speaking about complete architecture, you actually can. You not always realize that you are touching Web3 because when it's simply working. And when we are saying that's a new concept of internet, in some cases, for you, that's just the same internet which is working. You do not always understand how does it work underneath. But when we are speaking about the extended possibilities, for example, the decentralization nature and the different approach towards the front end enables us to use much richer front end than just the browsers. It enables us to look to all the AR, VR devices as a presentation layer for this new internet, which enables you all the 3D possibilities. The service layer and again application layer allows you to integrate with any of the game engines, which allows you to use as a presentation layer for your internet applications the game engines. So it allows you to get your functionality on certain gaming worlds. This also enables you to connect to IoT devices and to use them as your presentation layer. It will be different UI. It will be different representation of your front end, but it's also the new stack allows you to do so. And remember, we started with the control, with the censorship. And this stack is actually carefully crafted to eliminate that. In the majority of the cases, that's because of the structure, because of the protocols used, but also because of the number of the service providers and the number of open source solutions in each layer, which actually changes the whole rules of the game. And I must say that then back to the question, is it only the concept or is there something working? I've combined this slide for you, which actually inherits the services which you are frequently consuming from internet now, but now with the vendors who are provisioning that to you on a decentralized manner. And some of the names are probably known for you, some probably not. I must say And that would be next slide, because I mean, I believe that the question of existence should be closed now, because in every service, like on every service demand, there is a proposition which is decentralized option and which is working means life. But when we started to look of how user friendly it is, then we might hit the issue. Because, well, for example, Minds, social networking, this yellow lamp, that's the logo of Minds, blockchain-based social network, works. How rich is UI and how big is the user base? That's the question. Incomparable with Facebook. Other social networks or like file sharing mechanisms, everywhere we can see that there is a proposition. There is already a quality enough proposition which allows you to build your consumer-oriented services on a decentralized stack. This is the full proposition with a lot of variety and a possibility to choose whatever you want through the complete stack. But there might be that, again, the user base and the quality of UI may be lacking. At the same time, specifically for the certain solutions which are targeting the rich UI, that might be also outstanding. So it's like, when you do have like the forest and when you have the well-paved road there, and when you have the paths around that, that's probably, well, you just need to walk there more. And so they would be a high quality. And so they would provide you. And what we see now, that's there are a lot of those paths across the whole forest. And those paths, they're more specialized. They're probably less unique, like less universal in terms of the services which are proposed, but probably satisfying the particular demand much better. Well, just give it a chance, just try that. And I must say, if you will look very carefully on this slide, I didn't put here the icons for news, because when we're speaking about the decentralization, the social networking, streaming, file sharing, and the news, they're kind of blended. So you can use for news almost the same providers which we're using for social networking. It just would be slightly different interface, but that's more I would say consumer, like, well, more peer-to-peer based service. Moving further, because I mean, continue on a question, like I showed you that, okay, in terms of the technology, that's already in a good state to be used. Then the next question, is it really used? Or is it somewhere like total phantom? And well, I must say, like, you see the numbers. Numbers are from, I think, end of June this year, so pretty fresh numbers. I would say they're not shocking. We definitely know that there are more internet users nowadays. But at the same time, and we also see that the pioneering areas on the Web3 usage, they are more crypto and gaming. But that's already like kind of heavily used. And that's a demanding area. And that's an area demanding for the quality, for the performance, and it's working there. There are other, like, I mean, where the businesses are moving into that. They're also trying to use existing paths. That's why we see so many brands are creating their own NFTs and wishing to integrate with Fortnite, because the concept there is already used, and because that's already sold there. The same were in other gaming worlds. The concept of Web3 is already well settled there, and it's probably because the most of the bonuses are easily unlocked. Like most of the low-hanging fruits are there. Remember all this 3D, all this decentralization, all this high performance which is available. But the other businesses started to approach that exactly for what is already working. I mean, where you are a bigger business, you probably don't want to make the path in the middle of the forest. If you are not like feeling like a pioneer, you probably started to look where others were working. That's why we've seen first like Balenciaga in a fortnight, and now almost every brand says to me, we want to be as Ralph Lauren or as Balenciaga. And then again, there are like the pioneers where like Nike does something, and then others are looking for the same. We want the same. And so I must say that I would not pretend that it's like whole internet is already moved to the version 3.0. But we definitely see the big move. And we definitely see the value in this move. And basically the concept looks like already sold concept. The realization, we're witnessing realization. We actually participate in realization of that. And I mean, if there are already demand, and if there are already suppliers and a successful suppliers making money, how do you think? Would it reverse? Would it go back? Probably it will move forward a little bit slower because of the challenges, and we do see challenges here too. First of all, that's difficult to reach quickly the same level of the complexity of the applications which exist in Web 2.0 right now. That's also difficult to reach the same quality of UX UI. It allows you new possibilities, but still the quality. I mean, you all know how is the quality of the avatars in 3D gaming world. And you also know how many companies are working on making realistic avatars. This all is coming, but just coming. Interoperability, another big question. There are already a lot of solutions which are solving the problem, but there's no mainstream. And remember, how long did it take to move to the mobile devices? And how long did it take to move to the cloud? That's exactly the same move. That's exactly the same idea where you already see that the technology is beneficial. The technology is already moving fast, but it's still not exactly there. The same in terms of the scalability and in terms of, and mainly in terms of the regulations. And I even put here, the typical blockchain trilemma, where you have security, scalability, and decentralization, and like choose two on the cost of one. And that's the very typical situation in a software world where you cannot have all of this at the same time. You have to choose that. It also explains why so many solutions exist on this world. Like why, probably for people who are not very deep into the topic, probably the questions, why so many blockchains exist? Why so many NFT platforms exist? Why so many decentralized storages exist? Like in almost every layer, on almost every service, we have tens and hundreds service providers. Why? Why they all don't go and create one which is perfect one? Because of the trilemma. Because you have surface out of 3 parameters. And trying to optimize, like you are normally trying to optimize your solution to one dot on this, like to one point on this surface. And ones are choosing more secure solutions. Others are choosing more like scalable solutions and more decentralized solutions. And it's really what you put as the basis of the requirements of building that. But we as the consumers are benefiting from such a richness that allows us the centralization of services, that allows us to choose among them. And Uh, and then, well, I was kind of not forced. I forced myself to put this topic because very frequently, very frequently, talking to executives, talking to the technicians, everybody is asking, where is metaverse and NFT and this concept of Web3? Because when you're speaking about Web3 as like free, independent, censorless internet, why we are speaking about NFTs? And we are witnessing the NFT boom, like probably the glimpses of that. I must say that a year ago that was higher, but still a lot of rumors, still a lot of discussions. Nowadays, it's turned, I believe. But yeah, I'm mostly in an upfront of developing that. So, but now it's turned to more technology area. So when we are talking about NFTs now, we are talking about that not so many as a digital art, not so many as tokenization of the art, like the products of like all kinds of art. We are currently like NFT has place in a Web3 stack as a media to transfer the data. NFT can be regarded as a container to carry on user data. You store NFT in your wallet. It has a certain parameters which are used by the centralized applications to function. Easiest examples, tickets to the events. When you have your virtual engine, it needs to realize to let you in or not, and where to let you in, what access rights do you have. This information can be transferred in NFT as a container. It can say what ticket do you have. Again, when you are transferring objects to the certain gaming worlds, like the in-game items, like qualities of your avatars, like skins for your avatars, this information, in the majority for the nature of a blockchain, like references to what is associated with that user are also carried on in NFT as a container. And that's again the data, like it's again the information. NFT here is used as a container. And the recent developments of NFT protocol allows us to add the container features. I mean, when we're speaking about like event access, physical items, voting, access to Discord channels, this all just like, parameters, carry on a certain parameters. But when we speak about breeding, when we speak about burning, when we speak about fractional ownership, those are the functions of the container. Those are additional functionality. And honestly, from a technology point of view, a lot can be added. Those are the simple ones. But container can be programmable container with certain functions. And container can contain actually the data, which is owner stored data, which is accessible by applications. So when we are speaking about NFT and Web3 stack, we are speaking about that and not about digital art and not about multi-millions cost of NFT. Important feature, that's because NFT is a token, that it also has a cost. So we are bringing the concept of money together with the parameters, together with the features. And that's another concept of Web3. Like when we are speaking about decentralized internet, when we're speaking about the censorship internet, we are also bringing there the concept of money. And it was not possible. Like, why didn't we wait so long, right? Because of the absence of native internet money. And with blockchain, you actually got the quality of instant value transfer. So all the cryptocurrencies are the instant value transfer mechanisms. And that adds to Web3 concept incentivization and monetization. Because when you, it means that you can natively add money flows and the various algorithms of your money flows to your internet applications. That's like another important aspect of the Web3 stack. And then probably the last question, and what about the metaverse? And I must say that, yeah, almost like, nothing, because metaverse is a presentation layer. That's like what the set of those virtual realms, virtual worlds, gaming worlds. When I say matter, that means that the variety of that might be in accessed. And I would say that why it's associated with Web3, because that's the first, like, that's the architecture which allows that as a presentation layer, which brings the whole functionality of underlying internet services with the possibility to project that into 3D presentation layer, into AR, VR presentation layer. That's why very frequently metaverse is confused with Web3. But speaking about Web3, we're speaking about the technology stack to facilitate the new internet, how new internet working. Speaking about metaverse, we're speaking about the presentation layer in this new internet. Well, in all the definitions, they always say, and blockchain, which is feeding as a money backbone for this new internet. I've already touched about this. I already said that, okay, that's monetization and incentivization possibilities. And non-fungible tokens here are as the data transport mechanism, as a data container mechanism. And yeah, and I'm at the end, and please start with your questioning, because the goal of this speech is basically to explain why the heck we're speaking about this term, what is that, and how real it is for today. That's why I was showing the numbers of today. That's why I was showing the applications of today. I hope that there are developers listening here. And when there are developers listening here, the main question is, okay, we heard you. We heard you. You are trying to persuade us that it's already kind of usable, which means that there would be application builds, like there would be job for us. What to do? How to get in? How to start delivering Web3 solutions? How to start delivering a new internet stack? And basically, I'm showing you the typical for this year. And I must say that the development, the tool landscape is migrating quickly because of the maturity. Because of 2 years ago, I was debugging Solidity contracts using, Etherscan and whatever the printing possibilities, like on the screen. That's it, like sending messages. Now there are frameworks. Now you can look, and now you can have the magic. You have a watch where you see the variables. But basically, on the screen, that's the current stack. You have to make yourself familiar. I must say that on the network layer, majority of the people are normally using one of the networks for the beginning, or one of the types of the networks. You see here, there is like EVM based, EVM Ethereum based, non-EVM based. It's different blockchains. Where you use EVM in the majority, you use a Solidity as a programming language. Where there's non-EVM based, you use whatever, like Rust, in some cases C, in some cases Python, in some cases Kotlin. Well, that it really depends. But that's on the network layer. It's wise to make yourself familiar with the stack. It looks complex, but at the same time, there are already, like 2 years ago, there was no such help for easy entrance. Nowadays, I've put especially for you the links on the right side of this slide, which are either training courses, either tutorials, either learn by example frameworks, which allow you to start building Web3 applications and to understand what are you actually doing, and basically proceed with learning that deeper and deeper. Now there are already books about that. I mean, 2 years ago it wasn't like this, or 3 years ago was nothing. But currently you can actually educate yourself quick enough, and you can quick enough start building the applications. For example, in our community a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, we had hackathon where we had vendor who was giving us the workshop And this workshop was like really hand-holding, giving us GitHub templates of how to build the first Web3 application. Okay, using their vendor tool, but still good enough example of how to create a front end, how to create a backend, how to write the Solidity contracts, how to deploy all of this. Probably worth visiting if you're interested in that. And I mean, last Friday I was presenting in a water cooling tank talks where there are quite some of the developers who were like who had that avalanche of the questions of how real is that, and thinking how to answer them the question. They were asking about the real use cases and real implementations. And they were asking about the blockchain implementations, for which I gave them good examples of the supply chain traceability and all of this, which is on production. But when we are asking about the good Web3 examples, I can give those. But in a majority, you would not realize that. You would not realize that you are using Web3 application because, well, it's an application, it's a website. That's the game which you are playing, and there are nice features which can be realized on Web2 stack too. In most cases, yes. They just will work differently underneath. And they will, there are enough Web3 applications which are giving you internet search or storage of the internet files. And how can you distinguish, you can store the files on a Google Drive, you can store files in Swarm. Would you notice the difference? Probably in the user interface, in the name of the URL. But in terms of the service, I would say that what we will see next year or two, that's the traditional internet services will move to another stack. Like social media, like you will have another LinkedIn, what's already existing, another LinkedIn, which is decentralized, like another Facebook, another Twitter, another whatever. And in some cases, even existing brands can move to the stack, which will make it absolutely invisible for you. Even the same user interface and the same name. Because it's a technology. Because it's a technology which does magic underneath. But being a technology professional, you are moving to the new stack. You are learning new things. You are doing things differently. And that's very interesting. Oleg, do we have questions?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Sasha, for such a comprehensive presentation. We've got a couple of questions and comments in the live chat. Let me read them aloud. So the first one is, what Web3.0 services do you use personally?
Well, I use Minds definitely, and I was testing that, and I'm looking to that. I'm using Swarm to store the files. I'm using several applications from Doublets, which I was mentioning, because I'm advisor there and because I like the service and I really believe in the technology. So the idea of augmenting websites really touches my soul. I'm using wallets. And guys, I do have Oculus, so I'm sometimes playing, and I do have, I obviously do have NFTs, and I do have some items which are bringing to the game with me. I've been recently discussing with my daughter because we were discussing it with the brands paving their paths to the games. And there were a lot of I do have a lot of gaming friends who are saying, come on, why do we need those brands, those Gucci's and whatever in our, post-apocalyptic games? There's no place for traditional brands there. But at the same time, talking to my daughter, she said that she doesn't mind the Burberry checked sword in her elf games. She said, well, it would be cool. Well, I do have a couple of NFTs which bring some extra skills to my avatar. I wouldn't say that I'm enormously clever. No, my avatar has extra agility points. And I do have some in-game items. Looking now for the possibilities to use it in Minecraft, because my little one plays a lot in Minecraft and was recently drawn into topics of NFTs. He brought me the wonderful video about the Web3 scam. And he was at the same time asking how the NFTs can be used in Minecraft.
That sounds pretty much, and I'm surprised how much services you use in your personal life. So another good
I'm the
question.
crypto evangelist. I'm using quite some crypto, so I do have those possibilities, and I do have easy entrance because I know the technology. But at the same time, in our podcast, we are regularly teaching you guys how to do so, how to get in this wonderful new world as a user, not only as a
Sure.
developer.
Yes, and another good question, which I would think is useful to develop your idea about using such so many services, is from Diaz. Do we really need Web3 in all those terms of our life? I mean, in some cases, Web2 is enough, in my humble opinion.
For those for whom it's enough, that's enough. I mean, that's the personal choice. I'm just saying that for many business professionals, even for many individuals, for many businesses, it's too dangerous. I mean, in one day, you can be cut from all your customer base, from all your payment services. You will just lose your business. If you want to stay in that, like, if you do nothing, if you just read internet and you do not care about the freedom of your consumption, then you don't need Web3. But I was recently speaking on ETH Prague, saying that nowadays we need to speak not only about the freedom of speech, on the freedom of expressing yourself, but on a freedom of consuming something. Because it might happen that all your search results, they are done on 1% of the available data. You never would know. It might be that the whole like that your interest, that everything which you are trying to consume from internet is damn limited. You just don't know about that. You do not realize that. And not realizing that, yes, you feel happy. Like, I mean, you can probably get more educational materials for your child, more, for example, historical data, for example, information about the world history. It's very easy to manipulate that search results for you on a country level, which means that your mind, how you make decisions, would be heavily manipulated. I was speaking a lot about the brainwashing which is done like this because people do not realize. They still, because of the nature, because of the first version of internet, people consume that, having the perception that it's free. That's all internet to my service. Unfortunately, that's not. It's just you don't know about this.
Okay, and we see Polina says it sounds so exciting. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Polina, for coming. And another question is from Alexei. Most of the enterprise applications is about filling the database with good UI/UX, with some business processes inside and with a lot of services combined together. And the question is, how can Web3 help solve such problems better than Web2?
It can divide the cost. When we are saying about a lot of interfaces, that's normally a lot of different interfaces for different type of the users, which can be created by different service providers. Or and those who need this particular interface can pay directly for that. It's also like, instead of creating big monolithic, like what big, huge monolithic, very intricate application, you can end up of creating like of the created services by the different companies, so it means funded differently at the point where they really need. You will get the better interface because there would be less like a universal type of the interfaces, and it would be cheaper because of like on this universality you normally spend a lot of development effort. And also, like, I mean, that's your microservice architecture, but brought on the level of the business, of the running a business. That's what Web3 allows you.
Okay, and I think that was the last question. And we are, I don't see any questions anymore. But anyway, if you will have some in the future, do not hesitate to send them under our YouTube video, and you'll check the comments and answer you in written. And
In the future, we definitely will do the deep dives into the particular technologies like Swarm, like Status and Whisper, like messaging. We actually had talks about decentralized messaging in the past. You can check our recordings. We'll speak about the decentralized storages. Like, I mean, the whole stack, it has the vital parts on that. Like, to build application, you need to build the certain parts of that. Like, why you anyway need a wrapper for your smart contract to get your functions, like what to get the services of the smart contract to the front end. And there are the different solutions on this layer. You need to store the information. You need to interconnect with other applications. And well, from time to time, we are discussing that here in brown bag sessions. We will continue that. You would be surprised that we've already, like a lot of components we already discussed, they're applicable for Web3 stack. So yeah, and if you have the particular interest, let us know. We probably will collect this information, and when there would be a lot of questions about a certain aspect of functioning of Web3, we will do the deeper dive session. We do have all this information. We're delivering Web3 solutions. It's just too many conversations nowadays about this reality is not letting us to do as much business as we want. There are too many, say, hesitations, and we would like to clarify the terms. And like even among the professionals, even among us, we want to build a certain vocabulary and a certain common understanding on that, and to answer the common questions, and to keep that being able to refer to that, and to let us know our partners, our friends, our colleagues.
thank you, Sasha, for making such a great conclusion. And thank you, everyone, for your attendance. And we hope you have learned and enjoyed our presentation too. So, and Sasha, thank you so much for such a great presentation too. And it was a pleasure to have you with us, and hope to see you again.
Guys, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.